is my pleasure and an honor to introduce our speaker today, Mayor Odell.
I appreciate you all coming out. I'm sure everyone of you had better things to do today, but I do appreciate you coming out. I think we've got some great things to talk about, to commend each other on for this last year and its accomplishments. I got a few people I want to introduce, a couple of special guests of mine. One is Grant Clark. Grant's sitting back here. Grant has been a student non-voting member of the park board, him and a young lady named Allison Calloway, and they have been sitting on the park board and made most every meeting since school started. And a lot of times those meetings are long and they're boring for them, and but they sit there and they take it all in, and they seem very appreciative to be part of it. So, but Grant plays football and basketball for Rochester High School. He's an 8-year 4-H member of the student council. He's a youth baseball umpire, REMC student board member, and as I said, a non-voting member on the park board. So, Grant, thank you for coming. Allison couldn't make it today because she had a test. She was had a preparation class or something for this test. She hated to miss. So, but she's also sits on that, a non-voting member park board. She's a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Champions Together, RHS Girls Cross Country, and Track and Field, Indiana Youth Panel, Advocate in 2024, National Junior High School Vice President, I believe is what that means, 21-22, and a student member of the Rochester City Park Board again, Fulton County Youth Leadership Academy, and Key Club member. So I appreciate having student involvement in our city government in any way that we can. We hope to expand on that. So, but Grant is a senior. Allison, you're a junior? Oh, they're both juniors. Good. We're going to have you around a while. A couple other guests I have is Steve and Judy Hartman. They moved here in 2019. You can shake your head if I get some of this wrong. From Illinois. And unfortunately for us, they're going to be moving back to Illinois this month sometime, correct? So we're going to lose them, but they've been a huge contributor to our community. He's a pastor for 36 years. He's serving currently as a Burton Richland Center United Methodist Church as pastor there since December of 19, and been chair of the Salvation Army. Served in the United Ministry Board, and most recently again worked with the Food Security Group with the Purdue Extension. We really appreciate everything you've contributed to our community. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to ask Steve to come up after my speech and give us a prayer for our community. So appreciate you coming. A couple other people I want to recognize. Darren Vogt from U.S. Senator Banks' office. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We've got Mark Canada from IUK Kokomo. Familiar with them. I'm sure everybody is. Appreciate you taking the time and making the trip up here. Kelly Karikoff, who's also my sister-in-law. She paid me to introduce her. She's a tech out of Kokomo, and actually she works statewide pretty much, so appreciate having her with us. And I got to tell you, there's nothing more intimidating than standing right in front of your wife to give a speech. She's my biggest critic. So if you think you can beat her, good luck. Well, I certainly want to start out with a lot of thank yous. First of all, starting with Beth Stocking. You guys would not believe the amount of work and the time that she puts into her job, and she's such a perfectionist, and I know she's probably her worst enemy because she is such a perfectionist, but her work is noticed by everyone. We certainly appreciate everything you do. Also, I want to introduce my Board of Works guys, Brett Kernett and Gary Hartwig. They've been invaluable to me as a mentor, guidance, uniquely skilled. We certainly appreciate everything you do for this community as well. And then City Attorney Amy Perkins sitting in the back there. I've really put a lot of pressures, Beth and I both have, on him this last year. We certainly are thankful for all the extra effort that you put forth. I had a lot of things going on, and we couldn't have done it without you. so we really appreciate that, Andy. I don't know if we have any council members, but I'll go ahead and introduce him. President Brian Goodman, I'm going up 24. Brian Goodman was president. Ruth Gunter, Amy Rowe, Bob Kennedy, John Garrett, Brian Fitzwater, and Mark Smith. All seem to be very together in our approach moving forward, and they've been wonderful to work with. I know a lot of mayors that I talk with have a lot of battles in the personnel issue, and I'm so appreciative that I don't have that. And I want to speak to our department heads. Many of them mayors that I spoke with had several changes to make that are tough to make. But I knew I had a great group, and they are a great group. We lost one this summer out of retirement. We still miss him, but had a very talented young man take his place, and TJ Du Bois as our fire chief. But certainly appreciate again, Tom, all the work and the service you've given to this community and to this country. So thank you, Tom. Derek Holloway with our superintendent of our water department, Dwayne Warner, superintendent of our street, and he also wears the hat of park superintendent. Spends a lot more time than that. I'm sure he would prefer, but he does a great job with that. Marcus Halderman with our wastewater, and I miss anybody? Oh, well, I got to mention Matt Campbell because he's kind of taken over the tech part of our office. He comes in and helps me a lot because I'm challenged that way. So, but he helps in a lot of different ways, as well as Randy Williams as our project manager. Again, doing a lot of work out there to make things work and keep moving forward. So I think I covered everybody there. Got some board members I want to recognize. The water board from last year was Marvin Davis, who's president, Rachel Stevens, and Cassie Smith. Park board last year was President Alex Berlin, who just stepped down from that position, going into 25, Kim Landis, Ed Richard, and Mitch Hayes. Our redevelopment commission is made up of President Guy Bigler, Todd Beeler, Ruth Gunter, Phil Bowers, and Joe Koch. And then our tree board, last year starting out with John Bowers, Jim Mulligan, and Eric Bittinger. John retired or stepped off the board in mid-June, and I'll talk about a little bit of that later. And then I can't say enough about our office staff, starting with Jane Ricketts, who's come in middle part of last year and really helped out. We've had so much going on. It was overwhelming for Beth and I both. And we've pretty well dumped a lot of stuff on her lap, and she's done a fantastic job. Karen Batosic, Tina Rowe, Jennifer Mesker, and Carolyn Gray all do a phenomenal job there in the office. So what have we accomplished in 24? Well, our first step, and I think this was the easiest of all things, was just to kind of rebuild or rejuvenate a relationship with the county. I had a great relationship with the commissioners and the council going into this time last year, and we've had several projects we've worked on together, and I really appreciate all the help you guys have given us and the council. We certainly have a great partnership right now, and the same vision, I believe, for our community, so I want to especially thank them for that. Jillian, I want to thank you. The McDonald Drive that we are getting ready to extend come spring, that all happened because of her help. Meeting kind of connected me with the current hotel owner. As you know, that road that was there, or is there, is privately owned or was, and we had to work with the McDonald's owner as well as the hotel owner to acquire that road, and she really helped in that endeavor and making those connections with McDonald's and Walmart. So I want to thank her for that. We finished Apache Drive, which really wasn't anything that I started or had anything much to do with. However, there was a lot of change orders that came across our desk. Wasn't their best. Since, between the time I took office and we took office and we got it finished. So navigated through that, finally got that done and shovel ready for business, and we've got hopefully some hopeful plans for things to happen out there soon. Finished Blackadder. That's a huge thing. 20 years, I don't even know how long it took from start to finish, but we finally got it done. NIPSCO ran their lines in the last 2 or 3 months, so I think we're shovel ready on that as well. So that was a big thing, but there again, I didn't have a whole lot of responsibility in that, but it was something it's nice to have behind us. Probably one of the bigger things was the reestablishment of the parks program. Park board, and with the help of Lindsay Bartz, who committed to a ton of time, and she had an assistant named Abby Cronin, who put so much time as well as so many volunteers, including some high school students that volunteered through the process. I think it was a 3-week program. I think they averaged 90 to 100 kids a day. Is that about right, Kimberly? 80. Phenomenal opportunity for our community, so I appreciate all their help and the park board for making that happen. They also started a 5-year plan to kind of get things laid out before us, what do we need to tackle, what's the priority. One of the priorities is the pool renovation, and that started 2 or 3 months ago. I think, last I heard, we've uncovered some more problems that needed addressed. Take a little more money, but it looks like we're still on schedule for opening on time this summer. So, crossing our fingers on that, hoping for it. But through this process, I met a young guy who came to one of the park board meetings this spring. I wouldn't have to introduce myself. Certain he was just somebody there selling something, because that's the way it usually works. And I asked him who he was, and he said, I'm just a citizen. He said, I've got young kids, and he said, honestly, I take my kids out of town to other parks because the parks aren't any good. And he said, but I'm not one to sit back and complain. I want to help. If there's some way I can do something to help, I want to help. And I said, John, you're my new best friend. I just was so impressed with the guy, so much so, and he kept coming. He was part of the steering committee. He now sits on our park board. And just an energetic young man, and that's the kind of service we need in our community. Rather than take the energy just to complain, put it in motion and do something about it. We need the help. So another thing we accomplished, the nickel plate extension. This has been another 10 or 12 year deal. So if you had any part over the last 10 or 12 years of dealing with this nickel plate extension, raise your hand. I know Andrew, you had a part of several. You have a part in it, and Mark McCann or Mark McCall. Thank you. There's several people that have been involved over the years in trying to make that happen, way beyond the time I got here. But we finally got that where we're ready to actually do the groundbreaking, I believe, in November or early December, and we're hoping to get moving on that as soon as the weather breaks this spring. So that'll be great for our community as well to connect that trail on up to the trail around the golf course. We changed the city's health insurance. Exciting stuff, isn't it? But it was exciting to us. I was at a conference in August of 23 before I took office and listened to a medical trust workshop through AIM, which is Accelerated Indiana Municipalities. And I thought, I know we got good health insurance for our employees, but I knew we didn't have a good option to bring families in. So I just went up to him afterwards and said, hey, when I get in office, I'd like for you to come and look at what we've got. Just be glad to. So we don't sell insurance, we're just working with United Healthcare and bringing a whole lot of people to the table. And at that time, I think we had 11,000 members across the state of Indiana. So they came, looked at it. Bottom line was, we ended up with very minor changes to our employees' health insurance. We were able to make it affordable, bring the families in, save the city $100,000 in premiums, which was huge. And we found out in the conference in February or in October in Fort Wayne that they told us that not only will our premiums not go up this year, but it looks like they'll go down, and we only have to pay 11 months out of 12. That's unheard of. So, good move there. We think so far. So I think everyone's happy with that. Plus, it saves some money. We began more involved with the Rochester schools, Jan and I met multiple times over the course of the year, different ways of getting the students more involved. I've been attending some of the student council meetings, not as many as I'd like, but aim to get more involved with that and get student interaction and investment in our community. We know that's important. We need young life, put in some sweat, equity into our community, and we need more people like Grant and Allison to jump on that. So we, again, appreciate that. We had a renewed relationship with Grid Public Services on their leachate. We kind of severed that tie prior to me taking office, and we just recently got a contract back with them. It's hard to say what that dollar amount will look like because leachate is basically runoff. It's dependent upon the weather, how much rain you get, snow. So it's hard to put a dollar amount to that, but we do have an arrangement with them that's going to be profitable for us. It'll help our sewer department. The other thing we did just recently, we were taking our sludge, which is more of our solid material from the wastewater plant, and taking it up to landfill and dumping it. And they were charging us to do so, of course. And that was roughly about 500 ton a year, just rough numbers. And that would cost us about $100,000 for them to do that. And this product had value. It had nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium value, and it was wasted. It dumped in a hole. So I had some friends in Kokomo, Merrill Brothers Biosolids. We contacted them. We did a bunch of testing to make sure it was satisfactory to their specs and IDM specs. Now they're going to be hauling it to Kokomo and finish the drying process and then applying it to farmland, either their own or some participating farmers. I want to make sure you understand it. I am not one of those participating farmers. It's not a conflict of interest. It's going to save us $60,000 because they can do it the same amount for about 40%. So, and it's going to be used in an environmentally friendly way. So I think that's going to be a good partnership. As you probably read in the papers, in what was it, November, we were awarded 2 LIHTC awards. We had 3 developers looking at 3 different apartment complexes. We loved every development. We loved every developer. We thought the one that ended up not getting it would be the definite one that would, but the other 2 did. So right now we have, I'm calling it Arbor Woods 2, but it's called Chamberlain Place behind Arbor Woods. It will be a very similar setup as Arbor Woods. That's going to be developed by basically the same family that developed Arbor Woods 1. So that'll be affordable housing, or housing that's affordable. It's workforce housing, not Section 8. Don't worry about that. It is, everybody's been screaming we need housing that people can afford. This is a way to do that. The other award we got was a senior living facility on College Avenue. It's 55 and older, which is a great developer, great development. And the cool thing about it is this nickel plate extension will go basically up their backyard. So the older people, I guess I'm one of them now, can hop on that trail, their bikes, walk their dog, whatever they want. I'm really excited about that as well. But there's only two communities in the state of Indiana that got 2 awards. We were one of them. There were only 16 awards across the state. We got 2 of them, so that's huge. Together with Mike Ladd and Charlie Sparks and Jim Streeter, I don't think Jim's here, but Streeter family, we've been working hard for months, as well as the commissioners were part of the early process of this, working on getting some land options nailed down for a future commercial park. The other side of the coin to more housing is more jobs. So we've always felt, and I think this community has always felt like that was a prime location, 3125, for development of jobs. So we're making the effort to make sure that happens and get ourselves prepared for whoever. It's impossible to say who might come, but we know that no one will if we're not prepared, because that's just the nature of the beast. They will not wait on you to put infrastructure or utilities in. You've got to get it in there first, and then it becomes attractive. So we're excited about that. I want to thank the Streeter family again for their help with this process. I want to thank Charlie and Mike for all the work they've done. We'll probably get together at least 2 times a week discussing issues. I got a phone call this morning, and just another step forward in this process. So we're moving forward with that. Should see some dirt moving out there as far as utility installation maybe this summer. Going back to those 2 LIHTC awards, I found out last night the one on College Avenue, the plan right now is to start moving dirt in May. So we should see a lot of things start to happen this year. Don't know about the other one, but I'm expecting it to be this year as well. Punch building, that was kind of left in my lap. Worked with Monica pretty closely, worked with the redevelopment commission. We had to do some things to help make that building safe where she could continue to operate her business. So the RDC put some money into it a little bit. She's paying us back on a monthly basis so that she can keep her business open until we decide if there's grants out there, if there's ways we can salvage the building where she can continue. We talked about that a little bit more in the RDC meeting this morning. Still kind of coming up with a plan on what we're doing there, but it's been a great experience working with the redevelopment commission. I want to give a shout out to those who have been involved in nickel plate music and arts festival. This year we had the parade. Ahead of that, certainly Ed, Richard, and Amy are to thank for all the work that they did for that. I know when I first met Ed at the lumberyard probably 4 years ago, in our first conversation, he said, we gotta get a parade back in town. So as soon as I got elected, he came up to me and said, we gotta get a parade back in town. I remember. So he ran with that thing, and my gosh, I think 17 or 18 was the last parade we had, and it was 35 participants, and he had slightly over 80 participants. So now we just gotta get the people to come out for it, because we had more in the parade than we had watching. But all those volunteers, Ed and Amy and Christine Walsh, Julie Shambarger, Josh and Candace Zinger, Kelly and Jillian are so busy all the time with projects, and there's so many more, just unbelievable number of people that it takes to put those things on. I know Julie is excited about the theater happenings even this year. She said this morning in the month of January they had 1,000 visitors. So, and they hit what, 20,000 sometime last year since it opened. So phenomenal for our community, for downtown. I know they've got some exciting future plans that they're working on. So we should see hopefully more events downtown, maybe some first Fridays, second Saturdays, and something on a regular basis that will create more community. I want to give another shout out to our chamber, chili cook-off. Wow. If you missed that, you really missed something special. Because I think, I don't know if it was a record, but it was close. But we had a beautiful day. One thing that's different this year, and Jillian, you can correct me, but this was the first year we had the blacktop cruisers did not take on the car show part of it. The chamber and the board took it all on themselves, and we had pushing 800 cars, roughly 750. So it was phenomenal. And of course the weather was perfect. What a great event, continuing to grow. I wasn't at the Boo Fest, but I heard it was better than it's been in the past. Everything seems to be getting better. So the holiday stroll, that was again continuing to get more people involved, more businesses involved. The high school shop class built a new Santa house, did a fantastic job. I want to give a shout out to Eric Schlag. Did I pronounce that right, Schlag? Yes. Okay. For you adults, I don't see any kids in the room, but there might be some kids watching. You can read between the lines. Eric had direct connection with Santa himself. So he made a phone call, got him down here, and he entertained all the kids. That's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you, Eric, for your connection there. Recently, we partnered with the county, and I want to thank the commissioners again. When I found out the Wellness Center could be closed, I started talking with Dr. Hoff. At that time, Dave was on vacation, but had Rick and Brian come meet me there, and we talked about some things, and they gave me some ideas. And I took those ideas to Doug Beller, and his wheels started turning. The board of the council on aging wheels started turning right away. I want to thank Susan Hyatt, who's the director of the Wellness Center. She was incredible helping us through this. Lisa Byers with the Council on Aging, and certainly Doug. But most importantly, I want to thank Dr. Hall. It was a very generous contribution he made to the community. He helped the Council on Aging as well in this process, so I want to thank him for his donation. We felt like it was a great effort by a lot of people, including the hospital. I want to thank, we met with Brad and Alan one day in the conference room and discussed some options, how they could be involved, and they've offered some things that are just priceless to the whole project, so I want to certainly thank them. And I just want to shout out to them especially, because since Alan's come here, has it been 4 years now? 2. Oh, that's one. Gosh, it seems hard. Anyway, you've done a phenomenal job in 2 years. I thought it was probably that, but you did a fantastic job of getting your people engaged in the community, and we really appreciate that. And I know we talked just a little bit ago about the Senate bill. We had Mike Braun come in October, and you never know when they're campaigning what they're how accurate their words are, but he did make us some promises that we're going to hold him to, right? But no, there's a Senate bill right now, 1486 we're looking at, the legislators are going to be huge for our community hospital. So we're excited that hopefully things will transpire. But we applaud all of the efforts that you guys have made for our community and to get this hospital and keep this hospital going forward. And thank you so much for that. I think it was, Steve, you'll remember, I think it was November, we got several pastors together for breakfast, just to talk about things. Something that I want to do on a quarterly basis, hope to expand that to maybe I'm certainly the invitations to every pastor in the county, but just to sit down every quarter and just answer any questions they might have, answer questions I might have, but just to have that open communication between our pastors of our community. We appreciate all they go through and the service they provide this community. So again, thank you, those of you who are serving our community in that way. David, thank you. So appreciate that. Looking forward to more meetings of that type. Had another interesting, well, one other thing I've been participating in is the mayor roundtables, Northern Indiana Mayor Roundtable every month. Can't make them all, but I make most of them. And it's just a great time of networking with other mayors. There's been several times where mayors will bring in a question. I brought one major one in at one point and asked 12 or 13 mayors sitting there, and they all gave me great feedback on how to navigate through something. So it's a great resource to have. I really enjoy the relationships. Got a real close relationship with the former mayor of Warsaw, Mayor Joe Talmer. He's I think a 3-term mayor, a very, very wise man, and he's been very helpful to me. He would have been here today, but he's taking some time off. So, but I really appreciate the relationship we formed. Another instance of community involvement, had a guy call me named Chris White. I think it was September, October timeframe. Wanted to meet with me. He said he had an idea. Came into my office and he said, I got this idea. He said, what you might think of it? I'm calling it Light Up Rochester. And he said, I'd like to get the residents and maybe a business competition on how we can decorate and kind of make Rochester more festive. So, man, that's great. Run with it. And I gave him the name of Anna Rowe, who I knew had the same vision. She wanted to see things more festive. So I connected those two, and they took off and ran with it, and I'm expecting that to continue to build. And then from that, the park board and Jessica Schaefer, so many others, we had to light up the park. And so we're in the beginning stages. It was kind of the last minute, but we're thankful for those participants that put something out there. We're hoping that will continue to grow on leaps and bounds for years to come. But guys, there's several. Kim Landis had a lot to do with that, Anna Rowe, RTC, REMC, Girls on the Run from Riddle Elementary. They had a display out there, I believe. Rochester High School Student Council, Bloodline Jeeps. I could not be here on that 9th they opened it, but I guess that was pretty phenomenal. Grace Mom Co., which I never heard of. It's a group of moms from Grace United Methodist Church, is that right? Okay. They had a display, and there were several other volunteers to help put lights on the pavilion and so forth, so we appreciate that. Something I started back in September was, and didn't really have a name for it at the beginning, we've since kind of adopted the name Unity for Our Community. And that's just really just designed to have open dialogue between organizations like the Redevelopment Commission, Rochester Downtown Partnership, FedCo, County Commissioners, Tourism Board, Chamber, Lighted Pathway. Evan's been a great person to bounce ideas off of and a great leader of that organization. Fulton County Hope, Rochester Schools, Brian Johnson with the Community Foundation. And every meeting, you don't know what you're going to talk about when you go in, but we just have a great dialogue. And the purpose of it is to, what are you looking at doing this year? What can we help with? How can we pull our resources? And it's just, I think, really opened up some avenues for us all. So we're doing that right now every other month. And I've enjoyed it. I think everyone that's participated has enjoyed it. So I'm thankful for that. We formed a sidewalk committee. Phil Klein had approached me, I believe, at the fair a year ago before I took office. He's the guy who's got a passion for sidewalks. So much so that he's walked every sidewalk in the city, and he scored every sidewalk in the city. But Phil Thompson was all part of that as well as Anna Rowe and Amy Rowe helped get this thing formed and started, and we ended up talking about it and talking through it, and we were having trouble filling our tree board. We had some vacancies there, so we didn't even have a quorum. So through conversation with Dwayne and Randy, Amy and these guys, we decided to join those because there's a lot of trees come into play from the sidewalks and vice versa. So they had their first meeting here a couple of weeks ago, so we're going to have those boards working together for a scoring of our sidewalks. Now, why is that important? Well, they used to have, I don't know how long it's been since they had the 50-50. Has it been 2 years or 5 years or been a while? We were looking at doing a 50-50 with the homeowner to replace sidewalks, but we decided since to do 100%. So we're going to take the worst sidewalks, and I think it comes out to about 400 feet of sidewalk. Our budget's about $50,000 a year, and just do it and just fix these sidewalks as we go, at no cost to the homeowner. So something I appreciate the help with from Randy and Dwayne on that. And then Phil, and in addition to that, there will be some CCMG, which is the grant that we get to resurface roads and sidewalks coming into play on redoing those as well. So there'll be hopefully additional sidewalks besides that we'll be able to replace. Most recently, with the help of tons of people, we opened the warming center early in this January. Amy Rose will be part of that, Pastor Hartman, Whitney Yates, Don Sewell, Gail Karras, Brittany Thompson, many volunteers who have helped this month filling either the intake part of it or the overnight stay. Burgess Smith, other pastors like Jim Howard, who opened his church up in January. Don Myers, Terry Baldwin, Dave Summers was helpful in the meeting and the development of this, as well as Curtis May from St. John's Lutheran. So we really appreciate all that effort. We have another church, don't know that we have it confirmed yet.
We are hoping to hear back today. That would be one of my calls to make. So we are tentatively moving everything on Saturday as long as it all goes well.
Right now, the plan is phased outreach. We're trying to work through that. Because each church, it's a pretty big lift for the church to do that. So we appreciate the participating churches. And I think February we'll be notifying people soon. But there'll be a sign out there. But it's great to have a place for people to get out of the extreme conditions like we saw last week especially. One other thing, or maybe a couple other things, Rail Progress. The rail, as you know, is owned by Jason Group. We've met multiple times over the course of really the last 18 months with I call them the rail guys. It's Eric Thurlow, Corey Trumpain, and James Reiner who work that rail. And as that becomes more usable, they're growing it. They're having more product come in and out. It's a huge draw for a community to have an active rail. And it connects to a national rail line in Argus, so that's a huge factor. They're also putting right now a transload location out on Fulton Street where they can bring product in, offload it from the rail, reload it on trucks, and distribute. So there's a lot of good things happening with the rail. I want to thank all their work, and recently they started working on, and Kim's been a part of this, and Amy's been a part of this, working with those guys on maybe the depot restoration, as a preservation of that. And a lot of ideas floating around. It's pretty early, but they've got some good plans or good ideas they're talking about. One other shout out I want to make, our recovery cafes, or our Celebrate Recoveries and Recovery Cafe. I've tried to attend several Celebrate Recoveries. One's at the Cross Church on Monday nights, one's at St. John's Lutheran on Tuesday night. I try and get there at least once a month, twice a month if I can. Tons of volunteers. Virgia and Dave Smith kind of oversee the one at St. John's, and Hector and Debbie Fernandez, one at the Cross, and then Pat Brown with Recovery Cafe, United Ministries, 4C, Matthews Market, Fulton County Hope, Lighted Pathway. All these organizations are out here helping people less fortunate, and I certainly want to shout out to them for all the work and all the volunteers that are part of all that. And finally, before we look into the next year, which will be much shorter, I just want to give a shout out to Randy and Todd and Wes at the radio station, Christine and Tyra at the Sentinel, Andrea and Leah at the Shopping Guide in Dakota, and RPC. Appreciate all the help you give us and getting the word out. And I want to encourage people, engage in the, read the newspaper, listen to the radio, watch RTC. If you want to know what's going on, you've got to engage yourself. We try and make every effort we can to get the message out, but a lot of people still don't hear it. So I just want to encourage that engagement. We have individuals like Jim Eikenberry, who's been featured in I know this event, it's been a few months ago now, but all the work he's done at the Times Theater with the murals, the artwork that he's provided. Guys like Chris Brown and the Brown family, who seem like every time I get on Facebook, he's out doing something for the high school, for the kids, or anybody. He's just available, and he's willing. And people like that I really appreciate. We lost a dear friend 2 weeks ago, or 3, Cindy McLaughlin, who was another great member of our community who gave so much. You guys are all here because you're engaged, you're committed to something, and I appreciate that. You see, this is what makes community. I looked up the definition this morning of community. It says it's a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. This is community. I want you to just give yourselves a hand. It can't happen without everyone's effort. I know I and every leader, every elected official, every appointed official greatly appreciates all the community's efforts. So what's to come in 25? Well, we just talked about the warming center. We're trying to find something more permanent, a permanent location, a resource center, more of a transition type home or a place where people can come in first and foremost, get food, clothing, and shelter. That's vitally important. And then we also want to have resources there where Virgil Smith, I know, is busting at the seams of 2 different churches with all the contributions she has. Get those under one roof. Have some job opportunities. I know Purdue University, I've talked with Ivy Tech, Work One. Our objective is to try and give people a job, get them housing, which was these housing projects coming in. We'll have that opportunity, I believe, but get them self-sustainable, where if they come back in the facility, it's to serve and to be a part of that serving part of it. But I know we've had several meetings concerning that, so don't know if that'll happen within this calendar year, but we hope to make a lot of progress toward it. We're going to be hiring a code enforcement officer soon who's going to hopefully take care of our trash and our grass and our vehicles and try and clean our town up a little bit. Andy's currently working on an ordinance that's going to put a little more teeth into our code violations. We all have to take ownership, and if you want to sell your house, you clean it up first. So if you want to sell a community, we got to clean it up. So we're going to be a little more aggressive with that. As I've said, we're going to see construction beginning on the apartment complexes, probably maybe some other housing, possibly a hotel. We're still working on that. And then the utility work out for the commercial park. And there will be a water tower. That's part of our water rate increase. We've had several things that have hit our lap all at once that we unfortunately had no other choice but to do. But the water tower is a necessity because we're way short in water in the air based on the state standards. We don't have good protection from a fire safety standpoint because we don't have the extra capacity in the air. So there's a lot of factors that come into that. But I know you guys hired me to be your servant, and to have to be, I didn't do it. I was part of it. I'll take responsibility for it. But it was a unanimous decision by the water board, unanimous decision by the council that here's the facts. We've got to do maintenance and we got to do it quick. So we had to get a loan to get this process started. To get that loan, we had to support that loan with current usage and adjust our rates accordingly to support that loan. That's where we're at. A small part of that rate is for growth. The water tower, as I said, is not growth. You'll see it hopefully on the other side of 31, but the growth part of it is to be able to pipe in water to these developments, to the commercial park. But it's, and when it's all said and done, our numbers are going to be where we should have been to begin with. But not having a rate for 15 years, That's just, I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. And it burdens me more than you know. So we hope to see those things beginning to happen this next few months. McDonald Drive will start as soon as the weather breaks, that extension. There will also be an access into Walmart off of the west corner of their parking lot. So that'll be nice to be able to access it from just from a personal standpoint, but also from a medical, an EMS standpoint, be able to get in there easily. Again, we'll hopefully see the nickel plate extension completed by, I'm hoping, August or September. I want to thank USI Engineering for their work in that, as well as Belcher Circle, which is the road around the park. That's going to be redone with angled parking. That's a CCMG grant. So that'll be refabbed. It'll be a one-way counterclockwise when we're done. But I want to thank them for their efforts. Certainly want to thank Maureen Hayden with Commonwealth. We have a great partnership with them. And they've been so involved in our wastewater and our water for years. And kind of back to the water rate hike, we did, I think it was November of last year, we agreed, the water board agreed to do this cost of service study. That brought Baker Tilly in, and they had a lot of consultation with Commonwealth just to see what's our situation. What's our financial situation, what's our repair situation, what's our need. They're the ones that kind of came up and suggested, here's where you need to be to get this done, here's a timeline you need to follow. But the partnership we've developed with Commonwealth and Baker Tilly is, and we have a local guy, Josh, gosh, I just lost it. My mind just went blank. Eric Walsh. Anyway, local guy, tremendously knowledgeable. But we work with him constantly, and with you know it, because I couldn't remember his name. But a great guy, very intelligent. But Maureen, she ended up paying for many of our employees to be here today, and I appreciate the relationship with her and Al Strong as president of the company. And we're pretty well locked arm in arm, aren't we, pretty much? So we appreciate that. The other thing we're going to happen is the 4th Street. We're doing that from the tracks over to Main Street, so you'll see that happen sometime this summer as well. We'll have continued, downtown improvements, as I mentioned. Hopefully, some weekly or monthly events in addition to the regular events that we've been having. Excited for Little Debbie's. I don't know what the timeline is on construction there, but Janet has done a tremendous job in being prepared for the Ready To money this time around, to have that laid out before them so we can get that funded. Certainly have a need for childcare, and she's done a tremendous job with that. And so hopefully we'll see something moving forward this year as far as construction. Good. So last thing I want to leave you with before I have Pastor Steve come is just want to leave all of you a little word of encouragement, because all of you are servants as well to this community. But when you engage yourself to serve, you're among the few willing to do it. Yet many of the rest of them will criticize every move you make and think you aren't doing enough. But I encourage you to stay steadfast in your call to service. The one who called you is the only one you are to please. So with that, I'm going to ask Steve, Pastor, to come up and pray for our community and whatever God lays on his heart to say. And I appreciate him and everything he represents.
Never give a pastor a microphone. Aren't you glad you elected him? I said it a couple different places. I'd like to bottle him and put him on every doorstep and let him experience it, because unless you're involved, you don't get a chance to know his enthusiasm, his energy, his excitement about this town. And it is a community. We're sad to leave Rochester. We want to come back in a few years and see all the wonderful things that are going to be happening. You are a community. You really are. And we felt it in the couple of years you've been here. And I pray for you that it keeps going the way it is and gets better and better all the time. And I don't see any reason why it won't. I really don't. Pray with me if you would. Heavenly Father, thank you for this town. Thank you for these people here who are the, I hate to use the word movers and shakers, but the ones who are involved and really care about the town. And as Trent said, not everybody's going to like what you do. There's going to be people complaining about different things, but that's the nature of the beast. And we thank you that you have allowed us to be servants to this community, each of us in our own way. I just ask you again to bless it for so many years, that in 10 years, and 20 years, and 30 years, it just keeps looking better and better all the time. And more people come and say, this is the kind of place I want to live. Because I know that's the place we want to live. So bless this town. Bless this mayor and all those who work for this town. In your name I pray. Amen.